written by Adam. There we go. So yeah, Ben Sinnott, 6'4", 254 pounds. Adam has a draft projection in the late second round, but let's start with you, Kyle. How you feel about Ben Sinnott?
Ben Sinnott's very athletic. He's like an all-around kind of good prospect where he has good fundamentals and blocking. He does the right things with his hands and landing his hands on the chest of the blocker, but he's not going to blow anybody away, in my personal opinion, at the next level. But as an athletic, just receiving end, he's somebody who could do something with his hands. And so I think like somebody like the Miami Dolphins, where they have Tyreek Hill, they have these other guys to be able to blow the lid off a defense. He's somebody who can attack from underneath in these sort of like attacking zone coverages. And I think Ben Sinnott also showing the athleticism coming out of the backfield, being used as a fullback, blocking in that regard. It's not like physicality is something that he shies away from in any regard, but I think that's somebody you can add in with an offensive kind of coach that can implement him into the game plan to his strengths, meaning putting the ball in his hands, let him go to work, because nobody wants to tackle a 6'4", 250-pound guy running full speed.
Right. Adam, like, is this is the guy that kind of remind me of
Chris Cooley.
Yeah, Chris Cooley, right? Is this him?
Yeah. Now
I was
he's
just about to say that while I was thinking.
just like, well, Chris Cooley was a wrestler, slash football, but this guy was in baseball, hockey, track, golf, tennis, football. Played also, defense, so lined up linebacker, outside pass rusher. Like, he was doing it all in high school, and he didn't get much attention. I think it went no stars coming out, but he had a Division II that was willing to offer him a scholarship, and he walked on to Kansas State. And ever since, honestly, he's been one of the heart and soul of the team from everyone, I've reached out to for Kansas State. But again, the issue with him is that the lack of overall career production. You know what I mean? I think he had a really legit year last year. He had, honestly, statistical better year than Sanders. He was more valuable to his team. Sanders, was nowhere as impactful as he was. As you can see on the video you showed, he's a lot better right now as a blocker coming out of the backfield as like a fullback, H-back role. He's still learning the nuances of an inline blocker. So that's where you got to be careful. And exactly, after Bowers, it's a significant drop. That's why when you have guys like Sinnott, Sanders, there's a bunch of Wiley, other guys are going to be in the mix for that area. So it's really picking your poison, honestly, not saying he's better than Sanders, Sanders is better than him, because it's all about fit. So, we talked about Stover, that's all about fit. He goes to the right team. He could be a 600 yard receiver every year, or it could be a mainly blocking tight end, get you 200 yards, a touchdown a year. It's all about system and where you go. But for me with Sinnott, I just like I say Chris Cooley because over the last couple years, the kid out in San Francisco is the closest, but Sinnott is significantly bigger than him. He's 6'4" compared to 6'2", a lot bigger size, but again, very athletic, but again, still really raw. I think, still 2-3 years away of really showing what he can do. But I think you get him in an NFL workout program, training facility, good coaching, like in an offense that it's balanced, because that's what I think he needs to be in. You're looking for, a high power passing offense, not much running. He's not really your guy. So if you're looking for that mix, which I think Washington is, that's why I have really high on him. I think you get a guy like this. Second round, I think that's where he deserves to go. But if I'm Washington, I think you got some other positions you got to take care of. So for whatever reason, he somehow slips to that third round range, man, you jump on him. But yeah, to me, after Brock Bowers, significant drop. But yeah, Sinnott's the next one for me.
Was this his most productive year in 49 receptions? 49 receptions,
close.
676 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his career, all the rest of those numbers were sprinkled out years of, between walk on and really not being a focus of the offense, just like being like a rotational guy to come in and block. So he really didn't get the opportunity until the last 2 years. So last year, he is the definition of a one-hit wonder. Can he do this again? But just the more I continue to watch it, from him, I just project him as a really good pro. But it's going to be all about system with him, because I think if you have a plan, I think you don't have to have a traditional fullback in your offense to utilize someone like him. I think he's the guy, you talk about, guys like Curtis Samuel, guys that can do different things. He's not in that same mold, but he's the kind of guy that can do the different things for your offense. And just, and I think when it comes to picking third down blitzes, he's a guy that I would feel better about than some of our backs right now, to be honest with you. So, but again, third round, more likely I'd hope he'd fall, but I think somebody's going to grab him in round 2. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that like him.
DT, do you think he's an Anthony Lynn type guy?
I would say he's an Anthony Lynn type of guy. I mean, you look at the physicality he plays with, the versatility he has, and we know with Lynn coming from the 49ers,
right,
who he had in the backfield. He had Kyle Juszczyk and he had George Kittle. 2 guys that Kyle Shanahan, they were able to find different ways to move around the lineups, great matchup problems. And what you see from Ben Sinnott, he's able to be moved around. And I think that's something that's kind of needed in Washington to provide some physicality and some matchup problems as well. And if you think about him coming to Washington with a guy like Zach Ertz, who has had a definitely solid career, you can teach him some of the fine things like Adam said. He's only like 21, if I'm not mistaken, so there's still a lot of time for this guy to learn the game from the ins and outs, and learning from a guy like Zach Ertz, who has been one of the best, I should say, move tight ends in probably the past 10 years. That is definitely a huge upside to Ben Sinnott's game. But I would love to have Ben Sinnott in this offense. You can do such incredible things with him moving around, H-back, dictate what the defense is, what you want to do.
Am I crazy for seeing like a young Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz,
and like, I'll add with him, talk about walk-on, the amount of work that this guy put into Kansas State, because that's the more research I did, the amount of work and time. He was the first one in, first one out. Like, that's the kind of guy that I know, good teams are looking for. So I think that is good. The 30 visits, whatever they have, anytime that the teams have got an opportunity to talk with him, I've heard that they're just blown away with, his work ethic. Talk about Jaden Daniels, teams have been blown away with, a lot of what he had to say. So I think that's going to mean a lot to teams. And I think if you're a team like Washington, you have Zach Ertz, so you have somebody, a veteran in place, ready to, tutor, and you just never know. A guy like Amani Rodgers can pop up and be one of our best tight ends this year, But I think that investing in the position after we take care of some offensive line, some other areas, but again, a great value if somehow he slips at third. I just don't see it. I don't see him slipping. I think teams are going to love him.
Great work, guys. We definitely going to get those out the top of the week. Ben Sinnott and Stover. All right.